Every 4 years in late summer, a natural miracle happens deep in the heart of British Columbia. It is the Adams River Sockeye Salmon Run. The Sockeye salmon come here for the final chapter of their life. It all starts about 6,000 kilometers out in the Pacific Ocean, when nature calls the Adams River Sockeye salmon to return to their river of birth, to spawn and to assure the survival of the species. Congregating near the mouth of the Fraser River for several weeks and dodging the many fishing nets, the salmon begin the 500-kilometer journey up the river. Once the salmon enter the river, they stop feeding and survive only on stored body fat. They begin to age and the nervous system starts to degenerate. In the wide river delta, the water is slow flowing, making it easy for the salmon to travel long distances. But soon the Fraser is squeezed between the mountains and the strong current becomes a real challenge for the struggling salmon. For thousands of years, the native people have fished this river for food to survive the long winter months. The salmon now face an almost insurmountable obstacle in their torturous struggle upstream: the relentless current of Hell's Gate. The 30-meter wide gorge has fishways on both sides of the river to help the salmon maneuver past this difficult part and assure passage at any river level. This hole in the mountain is also used by the fish at very low water levels. They then emerge behind the rock of this most narrow point in the Fraser River. Past Hell's Gate, the river widens, but the salmon still have a long way to go. Traveling an average of 25 kilometers a day, the salmon reach the confluence of the Fraser and Thompson rivers near Lytton, BC, 2 days later. The Adams River salmon instinctively follow the clean, clear water of the Thompson River. Near Kamloops, the Sockeye turn right again to follow the South Thompson River. The salmon sense minute traces of organic material from the plant life in and around the water from where they were born. The Adams River Sockeye salmon have been following that faint odor ever since they entered the river system. After about 18 days, they arrive in the Little River, which connects into the serene waters of the Shuswap Lake. They seem to be jumping for joy. But the water in the lake is dark and cloudy. They must press on. On their way to the spawning grounds, the Sockeye salmon have turned from a brilliant silver to crimson red with olive green heads due to hormonal changes. The female retains her beautiful, slender body, while the male undergoes dramatic changes. He develops a humped back, a sharply hooked snout, and prominent teeth to fend off aggressive males during the mating season. Scavengers of salmon eggs already wait for the arrival of the sockeye, seagulls, and the dipper. The Adams River sockeye salmon have arrived, and it's remarkable to see such a burst of energy after what they've gone through. For spawning, the salmon require clean, cool, well-aerated water. Temperature, speed of flow, and size of gravel are all very important factors. Salmon are anadromous fish. This means they'll spawn and spend part of their life in freshwater and then travel to the ocean to feed and mature. An error in judgment made this fish return to deep water and choose another route. The river teems with life like a living tide. At the height of the run, the Adams River is filled with thousands of crimson salmon. Once they've reached peaceful waters, they rest to gather strength to continue the final struggle. The remaining strength and energy is needed for reproduction. Almost 2 million salmon will have inhabited the 12-kilometer-long stretch of river between September and mid-November. Fighting amongst the males is savage and without mercy. It is called Salute to the Sockeye Salmon. People come here from all over North America to the Roderick Haig Brown Conservation Area to see this natural phenomenon that unfolds here every 4 years. This provincial park was created in honor of Roderick Haig Brown, a conservationist looking far into the future. An interpretive center explains the life cycle of the Adams River sockeye. Food, souvenirs, and barbecue salmon from the Native Tribal Council are all available to the approximately 200,000 visitors. Knowledgeable staff from the Department of Fisheries and the Park Service provide answers to the many questions visitors have. It remains a mystery why the salmon only spawn in the river or creek where they were born, and why they return at such a precise time of year. The females are searching for just the right place to lay their eggs, with the males always close by. Once the female has chosen the perfect site, she'll accept a male to her side and prepare the nest, also called a redd. Tilting sideways, she uses her tail to dislodge sand and dirt which is carried downstream by the current. This process is repeated until a 25 to 30 centimeter deep nest is created. The male vibrates his body to stimulate the female into laying her eggs. With her extended anal fin, the female carefully checks the depth of the redd. She'll then lay her eggs, which are immediately fertilized by the male with a shower of milk or sperm. The female covers them, and the pair move upstream to repeat the process until all eggs have been deposited. Each female lays about 4,000 eggs, of which only 15 to 20%, or about 800 tiny fish, then called fry, survive the first stage of their life. The males are most aggressive during the preparation of the nest. They challenge each other for the female and to protect the chosen site. Male and female circle over the redd and guard their site against all intruders. With almost 2 million sockeye salmon spawning in this short 12-kilometer-long river, they cannot help but dig up each other's eggs. Seagulls, ducks, trout, and other birds and fish go into a feeding frenzy. After all, this happens only every 4 years. Biologists from the Department of Fisheries and Oceans set out and tag about 1% of the anticipated number of fish. This enumeration process is for the purpose of determining sex and the number of fish that come to the Adams River to spawn. A specific number of tags are randomly applied and carefully recorded for further study. When spawning has ended, as many dead fish as possible are counted and tags collected. Through equation, the total number of fish by male and female that came to spawn can be determined. It can then be calculated how many salmon migrate to the ocean and how many will return to spawn in 4 years. This process of tagging does not harm the fish, and they can be observed throughout the spawning grounds. Already the first dead sockeye are carried downstream. Not all salmon spawn in the lower part of the river. Many travel further up towards Adams Lake or into the small tributaries. But this is not without hazard. The salmon must pass through another turbulent river narrow. They gather in calm pools along the edges and wait for just the right backdraft to continue their migration. Surging upstream against the relentless current, they once again congregate and gather strength to reach their final destination. As all salmon, their journey will not end until new life has been injected into the river. Not only sockeye, also much larger Chinook salmon can be observed in the Adams River and small creeks. Heavy growth of trees and shrubs along the creeks and river is essential to filter and release heavy rain slowly. This also helps to keep the water temperature cool during the spawning season. It is considered North America's most amazing songbird, the dipper. The loose salmon eggs floating in the water are a welcome delicacy in this bird's diet. With special eyelids functioning like goggles, He can swim or walk underwater to catch insects and salmon eggs. He can be observed diving into the turbulence only to surface somewhere completely different. These eggs are not likely to hatch. They'll be an easy meal for dippers, ducks, and trout. Spawning has now come to an end. After the female has laid all her eggs, she'll guard the site until she dies of exhaustion. Both male and female die within 10 days of completing their life cycle. The salmon have now completed 4 years of their natural life cycle, and degeneration of muscle and skin is now proceeding very rapidly. Death is not far away. This river will reclaim the life it has given only 4 years ago. The river they have conquered with all their strength and endurance will carry them downstream where they are washed ashore. Spawning has ceased by mid-November and all is quiet. It seems as if the river would go to sleep. Up to 3 billion fertilized eggs are buried under the gravel, ready to burst into new life at winter's end. The dead salmon become food for other fish and birds along the river. They're also absorbed into the ecosystem. In nature, nothing is wasted. Ironically, the decaying salmon become nourishment for the young salmon hatchlings in spring. Winter will soon arrive at Adams River and the adjacent Shuswap Lake. The struggle for survival has ended. The thousands of visitors that came here to be witness to this miracle have departed. All the trees and shrubs have now lost their foliage, and frost is starting to cling to the bare branches. As snow gently covers the trees and riverbanks, the eggs incubate in their gravel bed. Protected by snow and ice, the eggs start to hatch in February and are then called a levin. The life cycle of the Adams River sockeye salmon has just started again. The ice is getting softer and breaks off in large chunks as winter turns into spring. By April or May, the 3-centimeter long silvery salmon, or fry, emerge from their secure gravel hideaway. They will soon be washed and tumbled downstream into the Shuswap Lake. Here they remain until next spring to gain enough strength for the long journey to the ocean. The 8 to 12 centimeter long fingerlings migrate under cover of darkness to avoid predators. Traveling about 10,000 kilometers and feeding for 3 years, the sockeye are then ready to return and start a new cycle of life. From the original 4,000 eggs deposited by one female, 800 fry survive. Only 200 smolts migrate to the ocean. 10 adult fish start to return. 8 may be caught, leaving only just 2 salmon to spawn and assure another generation of Adams River sockeye.